Now 7 p.m. Welcome all. This is the Town of Warren Zoning Board of Review meeting for April the 16th, 2025. I am the chair, Andrew Ellis. To my right is Jason Nystrom, Bert Rodriguez, Michael Elves, and Chuck Thibodeau. Mr. Elves is usually an alternate, but as we only have 5 members, he will be a participating voting member for this evening. Any matters are continued, these same 5 members will need to be present to hear those matters. So with 5, we do have the required quorum for this evening, so we can proceed with our business. Our first matter is the approval of minutes from the prior meeting on March 20th. So any discussion on the minutes circulated by email, or is there a motion?
Make a motion, we pass it as read.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the minutes are approved. There's no old business on the agenda for this evening, so we'll jump right to the new business, which begins with application 2510, Tourister Mill LLC, owner and applicant, 91 Water Street, plat map 2, lot 1. Request for a special use permit to amend the original special use permit to convert 1 commercial unit into 3 residential units in the special district zoning district. Good evening. I see Mr. McCoy is here as always for the Tourister Mill.
Good evening, Mr. Ellis. Welcome to you and members of the board. Yes, I was last here for this project back. I looked, January of 2021. Time does pass.
Oh, does it? Yes. Well, you've been with us for the whole journey.
Since and as you were commenting before, Mr. Ellis, you have as well in that same seat as you mentioned earlier. So yes, you have. I can always look to the right. I know you're there. But thank you. Yes, it's been 4 years. We were back here for a similar relief we sought 4 years ago, a further amendment of the original special use permit on this project. What's happening here, and Mr. Rems is here from the project as well if there's questions. In this case, we're looking to convert some further commercial space in the, I call it the northwest corner where Filling International was. I think it shows in the plans you should have in your packet. It's color coded in purple. You can see that. It's about 2,700 square feet. What's happened is a similar situation to 4 years ago. The residential demand has remained strong. These units, so the objective is to convert that former commercial space to 3 additional residential units. Hence, we need the further modification of the special use permit. It's still good on the parking. I tried to, as I always do, put the parking analysis in my narrative. The residential actually reduces the need for parking, so we're still good. There are 733 spaces. We still have plenty of parking there. It's all interior work, so no exterior. And again, there were some questions 4 years ago and before about being a low area at the floodplain. It's raised up, the elevation is raised up, and Mr. Rems can elaborate on that. And he has some pictures, so we've addressed that concern as well as far as the residential. So that's what we're looking to do. So I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. For the planning board, March 24th, they give your approval that you see in the packet. And we're here today for the further modification special use permit.
So you're converting the commercial into 3 residential units?
That's correct.
Is that correct? So is it this thing that's colored in purple that you referenced? Because it only looks like 2 residential units on the plan.
It is 3. So
It is 3.
there's this is an enlarged floor plan of it. So directly facing toward the water, there is a 1-bed, 1-bath unit, and then there, right at the corner where the existing entrance coming up from where Filling International used to be, there's
Okay.
a 2-bed, 1-bath, and then a 2-bay. That's a 2-bed.
All right, so there's a very a narrow piece that's the one
Correct.
bedroom unit. Okay, I see it. So that's 3 units. And this is substantially similar to the last conversion you did of commercial into residential.
Yes, actually, right next to it,
Yeah.
there's exact mirror images of units that we did further
Yeah.
down the line.
Okay. Board have any questions about the proposals to convert the commercial space into residential? Able to see if anyone in the audience this evening has any comments they'd like to share regarding this application. You can come forward now. Not looking like anyone's interested. So you can return to the podium, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. I know you've got a full agenda after me. I don't want to add too much more than what we already did. Again, it's going to be the same quality as before. It's the same builder. I know it's done well with the town, and the same effort's going to be put in these units as well. Yeah, just like it was done 4 years ago.
Any other questions of the applicant?
I just want to confirm, it was two two-bedroom units and one bedroom unit?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll do this
Anyone prepared with a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve. Let's get where the application. The special use permit, the original use permit granted on May 28th to modify by the zoning board in the decision granted on June 17th, 2020. Application 20-27 and January 27, 2021 in application 20-05. Additional request the special use to in accordance with the standards set in the Article V of the Town of Warren's ordinance. I don't see, the special use permit is compatible with the neighborhood. There's plenty of units there now. It's just going to be taking some of the commercial use and making it into residential use, which is part of the comprehensive plan. And what we're looking for more residential spaces for people to live in the town. It will not create a hazard, but they're not doing anything exterior of the unit of the building. They're doing everything within interior of the building and it conforms with all building codes and fire safety. The special use permit will be compatible with the community comprehensive plan. As I said, we're looking for more residential units to be put into Warren so that we can have, more for the people that want to live here. And the public convenience and welfare will be served with more units, especially brand new units that will be all code compliant. Anything else we need to add?
We just note that no change to the approved parking plan is required, as this would be a less intensive use of the parking. So it is still in compliance with its parking requirements. Anything else?
That's it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is passed. Have a good evening. Good luck with building those units. I'm sure they'll be rented right away. Next, application 2511, Anthony and Lori Zamora, owner and applicant, 2 Twisett Road, plat map 16, lot 259. Request for a special use permit to allow a second floor with less than allowed side yard setback in the R40 overlay district. The applicant would like to come forward, please.
I'm Greg Snyder. I'm the architect.
Okay,
I'm here on behalf of, they live in Upper State New York. So
okay,
this-
and so you're representing.
I'm
the owners of the
representing
property.
Lori and Tony Zamira. I think you all have a package. This is,
We'll probably just set it there so we can look at it and refer to it as we need to.
it's before and after.
Mhm.
We are not changing the footprint. We're merely adding a second story. There is one gap in the existing deck that it's a very small portion here that we are filling in it's just a deck, not a heated structure. And with the addition, it's a small house. It's a 1,200 square foot house. We are adding a peaked roof, but keeping the same break point that the existing house has, so that the roof comes down to a level that is still in a very cottagey kind of aesthetic. Not trying to overwhelm the neighborhood at all. That's kind of it. The real, we thought we were set to go because we didn't want to move the house. In fact, we're using the existing foundation, all except in one location. We're going to keep the first floor framing. A lot of the first floor walls will probably need to be redone anyway. But we are keeping the same dimension for the ceiling on the first floor. So we're very much trying to keep it, in keeping with the summer cottages that are down in that area, not trying to do a McMansion.
I had a question about the deck. So we do count deck as part of the structure for square footage.
As the footprint, if they're not waterproof?
Yes. It's part, yeah, the only thing if it's like a patio that's at grade, we don't count that for lot coverage. We do count decks.
Okay.
So the only reason I ask is, is that going to put us over?
Not even close. We're like 13.2% of lot coverage,
Okay.
and it is not any closer to the water. It flew through coastal and
No. I'm just
Yeah,
saying total
yeah.
lot coverage. I just want to make sure we're not getting over that.
not
So-
even close.
'Cause I
Yeah,
don't
we're
see
allowed
any-
20, we're like 13.2 or. And we're only adding, it's less than 50 square feet of deck.
I understand it's small. I just want to make sure that.
Oh, no, I understand. And that's why we're mentioning it because and we didn't need to connect it, but it's kind of silly not to. You go up some steps now and you have to go up another set of steps. It's crazy.
And so the reason for the special use is that your existing setbacks are non-conforming and you're now vertically extending the non-conformity by adding these setbacks.
We are, but where we are adding the non-conforming portion is this end.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something where this is the same as
Mhm.
that. In fact, you could argue that this is lower because we have that line going straight across. It isn't lower, but it's sloping away from the viewer and the
Yeah.
dormer is set back.
Yes, but as you said, you're not increasing the footprint. You're not making the setback any less conforming
Right.
than it currently is. You're just extending the volume.
We're just extending it up, yeah.
Do we know how much relief they need?
I was looking.
He doesn't need
relief.
This is just a special use.
It's just
permit.
another
I'm sorry,
dance.
special, how far? He doesn't need any.
It's R40, but it's not R40. There's a special use in place for this area that is not R40. R40, I believe, is 20 feet.
Yeah, I mean, the minimum setback he's got.
With
here
less
is
than
five-
allowed side yard setback.
We have
he has
5.3 feet.
5.3
He has 5.3.
existing, and that's what he's keeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions about the special use that's proposed? Okay, I'll just ask if anyone in the audience would like to offer commentary on this application. No, but I see the building official, the zoning official would like to say something.
Mr. Chair, yes, I was met with one of the direct abutters. They had no concern about the actual structure, just they wanted to express that during the construction, the contractor puts up a barrier between the south property and this property. There's a right of way that children go to the water through there, and they were concerned that because of the proximity to the property line, that there could be dangerous activity with the construction.
Yeah, so we could make a condition that safe access to the right of way be maintained during construction. Is that reasonable?
That's completely reasonable.
Okay. Any other questions from the board or comments for this applicant? Okay, someone prepared to make a motion on this matter?
I'll make a motion. I move approval of application number 25-11, Anthony and Lori Zamira, owner and applicant, 2 Twisted Road, plat map 16, lot 259, requesting a special use permit to allow a second floor with less than the required or less than the allowed side yard setback in the R40 overlay zoning district. This evening, we heard testimony from the architect Greg Snyder that the special use will be compatible with the neighboring land uses. In this part of town, there are a number of structures with a second floor. So this will not be something that sticks out. We find that the special use will not create a hazard in the neighborhood. Again, this is going to be a vertical construction going up the overall boundary lines let me rephrase this. The footprint of the property is substantially staying the same with the exclusion of connecting some of the existing decks, of which testimony has been provided that that will not increase the lot coverage over what is currently allowed. We find that the special use permit is compatible with the community comprehensive plan. This is encouraging for the development of the town. This is going to keep a residential house in a residential area. It's going to expand it. It'll be allowing a new family to move into town and participate in the town's economy. And we find that the public welfare and convenience will be served for those very same reasons. As special conditions, we do note and do require that a protective barrier be erected during the construction so that safe access to the public right-of-way may be maintained.
Are there any other conditions or amendments?
And that all state, local, fire, and CRMC regulations be followed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion is passed. Good luck with development there. Next matter is application 2512, ZWA Realty LLC owner and Christopher Lee applicant, 644 Metacom Ave, Unit B, Plat Map 13E, Lot 6. Request for a special use permit to amend the original special use permit to extend the hours of operation in the business zoning district. Would the applicant please come forward? So good evening. Just
Good evening.
identify yourselves.
We're, so yeah, we just wanted to
No,
be,
so hold on. So you are the applicants,
yes,
right?
Christopher Williams, my wife Holly.
Yep, and your address is
Business address 644 Metacom Unit B.
644 Metacom Unit. Okay, and so you have an existing special use and you just want to
We
amend
do.
that. And you want extended hours of operation.
We'd like to be able to extend to do dinner in-house and to do some takeout business.
So when you first came for your special use, you were only doing breakfast and lunch. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we had
Lunch or
asked
whatever it
for,
was?
we had asked for later hours, but had asked us to come back, so.
Oh, we asked you to come back for later hours? That's shocking, because usually we encourage people to go for
We really
Yeah.
usually try to encourage them to grab everything
the
they
most
can.
possible hours they would want. When were
then
you
have it
here?
back.
In 2023?
Yes.
I will say, Mr. Chair, I recall this application.
Yeah.
One of the concerns we had about the hours was, and I think one of the reasons why
Oh,
we
right,
discussed this was
yeah.
the cigar
The
bar
cigar
is next
bar.
door. And I remember what was very key to approving this application was that there would not be conflicting hours of operation, given the limited nature of the parking. And I do recall that there was some discussion about that. And I know that was, I recall that was a concern at the time.
It appears we have a letter now from the proprietor of the cigar shop stating that the family grill, meaning your business, located at 644, is allowed to use all parking spaces at 644, 646, and 648 during business hours.
Just to correct it,
Yeah.
that's from the owner of the buildings.
That's from the owner of the
Building.
building owner that you can use, that all spaces on the property are shared between the cigar shop and your
Correct.
business.
As well as where
As well as
the nail salon.
the
and-
nail salon.
Okay.
I'm curious for the applicants, is this, if you know, is this agreement with all the other tenants, the cigar bar? and
It's
the
in
nail
our
salon?
lease that it's all shared parking anyway. I just figured I'd get the letter just to further the point.
So do we need to do a parking calculation based on the three businesses that are there to demonstrate that simultaneous occupancy of this parking would be appropriate?
So I monitored the parking. I went to the site. The dog grooming business closes at 4 o'clock, and the nail salon closes at 6, I believe. During the hours that they have requested, it doesn't appear that there's going to be an issue with parking there.
Yeah, so you're comfortable with the parking plan?
I just drove by and there's not one car in that lot right
Okay.
now. So yes, I am comfortable with the parking plan that's been presented. I believe that it will work. Unfortunately, for a neighboring business, they tend to use these parking spaces So they're gonna have to be.
Oh, people from a different property.
Yes, so that's, if there is an issue, it's gonna potentially be that there's another business that patrons park there. So we've already discussed this with the applicant, that they will address that with the neighboring business, that parking is for them and not for that business.
And that business doesn't have a parking easement or any kind of agreement
No.
on this property. All right, so the, all the parking that's on this property is to be dedicated to use of only the businesses that are on this property, including your business. Okay, so basically, you just want to extend your hours, you can serve dinner.
That's
So
it.
I would assume that means that you're being successful at what you're doing presently, and your clientele would like to see more service there.
Yes, business has been well. We made it through the egg crisis and,
Well, I don't know if we made
I don't know
it
if it's a-
through, I think.
Yeah.
well, I mean, we're down
Don't
$30 a
forget-
case. That's a big win, so compared to we were 2 months ago.
What,
But, yeah, no, business has been good, so
what kind of hours are you looking for?
we'd
what
like
time?
to, we'd like to be able to go till 9.
9 PM, okay, is that
Is that enough?
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
So you sure you won't need any more? Right. Okay,
Now, now without a liquor license, so, and that's not in the,
okay, you're not looking,
Cards.
okay, so you're not looking,
Alright.
so we do this one time.
We like to encourage people not to have to close up the town at an early hour, so,
After 9 o'clock restaurants, really,
yeah.
they're not serving booze.
Yeah, if they're not
People
serving
right up.
liquor, that's probably,
Yeah.
there's not a huge.
that was
demand.
the thought process behind that, so.
Yeah.
And you do
alright.
breakfast too, right?
breakfast.
Yeah, this is a long day.
Yeah.
They're not gonna wanna
Yeah.
be there after 9 o'clock.
So what time do you open? What are your hours?
We open at 7, we close at 2 currently.
And are you currently open 7 days a week?
We close on Mondays right now.
Okay. All right. And if we were to approve the extension, so you'd be open 7 to 9, 7 days a week, are you comfortable that you're able to maintain all of any other stipulations or requirements we made of you guys, when you first came, trash, waste,
Yeah,
that
I
sort
don't
of
think
thing?
it should really affect anyone.
Okay.
So you're gonna have adequate trash capacity, because now you're serving more meals. and-
Well, yeah, we already have another dumpster coming. We
Okay.
added one more pickup,
Okay,
but it's after the time that was in our special.
yeah,
use, so-
after the times that are.
Yeah, just to make sure that's not gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not adding like any additional signage on the buildings or exterior lighting or anything of that nature. And so your capacity still has to comply with whatever the fire marshal determined is the total capacity inside your restaurant. Okay. Is there anything else for the applicant at this time? Okay, is there anyone present in the audience who'd like to speak on this application? No one's making themselves known. Is there anything else you want to share about this proposed expansion of your hours?
I think we basically covered it.
I think so. Any final questions, John?
No.
Anyone with a motion then?
You want me to take a shot at this?
No, you're more than welcome
Oh,
to.
you were gonna do it again?
Sorry, good.
Oh, you wanna do that?
Good.
You sure?
Yep, good.
Okay. I make a motion to approve application 25-12, special use permit for 644 Medicum Avenue, Unit B, plat 13E, lot 13E-6. They would like to extend hours from 7 AM to 9 PM, 7 days a week. The use is compatible with the neighboring land uses. The neighboring land on Medicom is restaurants and retail businesses. It does not make any, create a hazard in the neighborhood. Again, they're all restaurants and retail. Special use permit with the compatibility of the comprehensive plan. We're just expanding out our restaurants. And public convenience and welfare is served. I believe it's served by a restaurant open up on that strip, an additional restaurant open up on that strip to 9 PM at night.
Mhm.
Anything else we need to add to this?
Just an
The
indicate,
parking.
yeah, the parking, that there's the common agreement.
Oh, and there's a common agreement on parking in that lot. Shared parking with all, 4 tenants?
Yep.
And anything else?
Exclusively for those 4 tenants.
Exclusively for those 4 tenants.
Very good. Anyone else have anything to add?
Should we add in a comment from the building official that any other people that park there from
Well, I think by saying it has to be exclusive to
Okay,
those four
yeah.
tenants, that they need to police that
Okay.
and make sure others aren't.
That's more of a private matter, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said the parking that's on the lot is for those tenants on the lot. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is passed. Have a
Thank you,
nice
guys.
time with your dinner hours.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Next, application 2514 Market Street Industrial LLC owner and applicant, 317 Market Street, plat 21, lot 3, request a special use permit to allow boat repair and service in the rural business zoning district. Good evening. If you want to identify yourself, please.
Hi, how are you? My name is Zachary Rivers, one of the owners and representing the property at 317 Market Street.
37, okay.
Can
And
I get your name again? I'm sorry.
Zachary Rivers.
Rivers? Okay.
explain what you like to do, like what is there now, what are you planning? to do?
Sure. So, I mean, obviously, East Bay Collaborative moved out of the property. We're just trying to clean up the property a little bit right now, but we're obviously going to be leasing it. So at this point, we have a tenant that's interested, and this time we're requesting that boat repair and service is added as an allowed use. I believe it's a use in that table, but everything's under special use permit. We do have a tenant who falls into that category. I think they'd be a good asset to the town and for us as a tenant as well. They would like to move into a portion of that space at 317 Market Street.
So they're going to occupy a portion of the building?
Correct.
Not the entire building?
At this point, only a portion. They'd be the only tenant right now, but they're not looking for that many square feet.
Right. So is any of the boat repair and servicing going to be happening outdoors?
I believe the majority of it will be in the building, but I mean, there will be boats moved in and out of the yard and, and mostly at the rear of the property. However, they will have, if you're looking at the property, and I think there's a drawing there, it has a line drawn through it. It would be the north side of the property they're looking to go into right now.
So that's,
Approximately, yep,
so the north side of the property, because this is where the old school was, right?
yes.
Yeah, so it's, the
This
one
is
that's.
where the garage base.
Garage is
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
Yep.
yeah.
So the front, the school is kind of to the left if you're looking at it, and the garage bays were to the right, and then continue around the rear of the property.
Okay,
So that basically those garage bases can go all the way through at that point. on the
It was
right-hand
the
side.
bus terminal.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yep. So they would be occupying that side of the building, and they would have boats. Majority of them would be in the rear of the property, but they would have those garage doors in the front. So they might have a few boats that they're moving in and out in the front of the building as well.
because I know that a lot of the land has been cleared. I go to Sip the Tip all the time, so you're sitting
Yep.
waiting to watch. A lot of the land has been cleared or at least cleaned up between the building where Schoolhouse Road is. It's pretty flat now.
Yep. In the rear of the property you're talking about?
I guess that's the rear, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
When am I, just as far as what's going to be going on with the repair, is that all going to be done inside?
A majority of that will be. I mean, mostly it's servicing outboard motors, things like that.
Okay.
And any heavy repair, I mean, not to speak for them entirely, but I think majority of it will be. But if it's a nice day, I'm sure they might be working on something outside as well.
Yeah, I get it. And it's as far as storage. So like, you go to an auto mechanic, you've only got so many room in the bays, you store everything else on the outside.
Correct.
Is it going to be similar to this? There's going to be
Yes.
boats lined up?
Yeah, they will have an area set aside where they can park boats behind the building
Okay.
that are being stored while they're waiting to service them, or during the winter months.
Yeah.
Of the season.
And they're gonna have containment for storage of chemicals and where they're gonna put the oil and all that.
So anything like that would be inside the unit, inside their appropriate storage containers. I haven't got into the details of them, but we have to meet the fire requirements,
Right.
the building department requirements.
EPA's all
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Fiberglass stuff.
That's really, that's really under their jurisdiction.
Same thing with like, if you're power washing boats or scraping paint, it's not going to be able to fall on the ground outside and permeate into the soil. That's going to have to be contained and, cleaned up. And I don't know if there are floor drains inside of this building or not, but wouldn't want things going down the drains
Correct.
into the public sewer, et cetera.
There are no floor drains. They've been all capped and plugged. When it was the bus depot, there were, but when the school moved in, they did a full remediation of the site, and any floor drains were capped at that point.
Yeah, so basically, any contaminants that come from this boat service and maintenance are gonna have to be contained and properly disposed of, so they don't cause an environmental issue.
Correct.
Has there been any thought on, let me rephrase this. Are you going to be adding any sort of exterior lighting, any signage?
At this point, they haven't requested any signage. They're not sure what they're gonna be looking to do for signage. They would have to come back and, request a signage at that point.
Okay.
I believe they'll want to put something on the building eventually, but they'll have to meet the ordinances and,
Okay.
request it. As far as lighting, we are gonna, just the lighting that's on the building, we are gonna replace with working fixtures at some point, but that's really not part of them as much as just us cleaning the property up.
Okay.
There is lighting there, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's good you're fixing it.
So I think we're going to say that part of the special use is replacing the lighting. Any new lighting should be full cut off, so there's no light trespass onto adjacent properties, dark sky compliant, et cetera.
You're saying additional lighting on top.
Like
of
if the lighting is broken.
Yep.
And you need to replace it,
Yes,
we'd like to see any new lighting that replaces the broken fixtures be full cut off, with no light trespass.
if we just repair the fixtures,
I guess if you repair it, if you can fix the existing fixture without replacing the fixture. And if the bulb is burned down, it's a matter of changing.
that would change the
bulb.
whole lighting plan for the property. That's the only reason.
Well, you're saying if you're gonna replace any fixtures as part of granting the special use, a condition would be that any lighting upgrades that you're making to the building, we would want to see the new fixtures, be
Okay.
full cut.
Oh, I'm just trying to make sure I understood, because is that part of the zoning ordinance?
That's
or-
our prerogative to make a condition of the approval of the special use.
Mr. Chair, if I may, with the exception of the Market Street and Schoolhouse Road, which is, the building is set back very far from both property lines. There is a buffer zone on the south and the easterly property line. So I don't think the lighting that the applicant's speaking of is going to affect neighboring properties. I met with him. I'm familiar with the lighting that they have. It's basically to illuminate the back area, to illuminate just around the building. So I think there was some confusion here, but I met with him on this, and I don't think there'll be an issue with the lighting going into the neighboring properties.
All right. And it's, again, I just want to make sure I understand. So any outdoor boat storage, that's going to be towards the back of the property?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
At the north east edge of the property.
Yeah, all right.
So almost like straight behind, 7 dip behind the building.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah, because one of my concerns is just having like a boat pile up crammed, like sardines all along Market Street as driving in. It's not that pretty to look at. It looks a little.
No, it wouldn't be conducive for us as the landlord either, because
Yeah.
we do need to rent the rest of the building. So I completely sympathize with that for sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's adequate parking for whatever employees are going to be working in this boat repair.
Yes, it looks like, we're not going to change the parking on the site. Everything's going to remain. It was set up, as you know, for the schools. So there's pretty adequate parking at the site. I think there's only between 5 to 10 employees for that business.
So you're into 5 to 10 employees
Approximately,
for
but,
the
yeah.
boat business.
I don't know all the details of them, but it's not a large crew.
Is this going to provide overwinter boat storage on the property?
I imagine some of the customers' boats will be at the rear of the property.
So there will be storage
Yes.
of boats on a long-term basis.
I believe so. For the
Seasonally.
winter, seasonally.
Do we want to restrict it to the back of the property?
We could, if we so chose, to designate the area in which the boats would be stored.
I would be in favor of something like that. Just speak, if we're doing a straw poll.
I would be okay with like the storage. I just don't want to restrict them from being able to use it.
No, no,
for
we're
garage
saying-
doors.
If they're gonna winter
Working.
store, we'd like to keep it behind the building. It's probably better
Correct.
for you too, because you're trying to rent to other people.
Yep.
I
don't-
understand when they're coming
Yeah.
out the front and they're working on boats and pushing
Mhm.
boats out, that's different.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to restrict them from being able to leave a boat in the front. for a while.
Actively working on boats, but
Yes,
if
yeah.
they're gonna do winter storage,
Of
we'd rather
course.
see them in the back.
Yep. I don't think that'd be a problem if we just specified it for the winter storage, for sure.
Okay.
for long-term storage, whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever it is,
long-term
yeah.
storage. That seems fair.
I think should also mention that wherever you're putting the boats, whether it's temporarily in the front or the back or whatever, they can't be obstructing any fire lanes or egress paths or anything of that which might create some sort of hazard.
Agreed. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do that. I sure would be in trouble with the fire chief if we did, but I agree.
Does this business that's coming in here, is it relocating from another site or this is an expansion of their business?
It's their secondary site.
Okay, they have an existing boat service area somewhere.
And they are relocating the secondary site
They're
from Bristol
relocating the
to
secondary.
Warren.
Okay, so they're moving the secondary boat business from Bristol to Warren.
Oh, good. Taking,
Oh, nice.
yes,
Takes
yes.
away
Yeah.
You guys might be happy about that.
Okay. Any other questions at this time from the board? Is anyone in the public interested in speaking with regard to this application? Not seeing anyone. All right, so if we bring it back to the discussion with the applicant, you're looking to convert a portion of the building into a boat service, repair, seasonal storage in the rear. You've got 5 to 10 approximate employees. You're going to contain any sort of hazardous materials, paint chippings, et cetera. Make sure it's not creating any sort of environmental hazard. We've heard most of the repair is happening inside the building, so it'll all be contained. You're going to maintain the site in a safe and orderly manner. And you may have a future tenant for the other part of the building at some point. So the boat activity will be limited to the portion that they're renting. Oh, and then your lighting repairs will be as discussed with the building official to make sure it's not causing any trespass of lighting onto adjacent.
That makes
properties.
sense. Yeah.
Are there any other questions or points we'd like to raise with the applicant?
Do you think we need to talk about hours of operation or not really?
We could put it in. I mean, do they have proposed hours of operation? It's not really like a customer based.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
like,
a
I'm not,
restaurant.
yeah.
If not necessary, I don't really have them in front of me.
I mean, I think we would say that, no noise generating work would be allowed to happen outside of the building prior to,
8 a.m.,
I
not
think
after
that's,
6.
yeah, I think 8 is.
Do we have, Matt, do we have any rules on that?
Is there noise ordinance?
What do we do? Trash after a certain time or construction? What do we use?
So this is a unique district. This is obviously the rural business district. So
Yeah.
we have businesses that operate all different hours of the day.
That's why I wasn't
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
This isn't like there's really no, there is a buffer zone, so there's no residential directly abutting this. So I would be cautious on, restricting the hours because of the district is, and whatever else will go into this building.
I would withdraw any comments or, I was asking because it usually comes up, but I
Well,
understand.
I think perhaps, no noise generating activity outside the building. We could set hours on that because noise is going to travel from this site. There are, yes, there are no residences directly abutting this property here, but there are some other residences down
You
here.
start revving outboard motors to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna get complaints.
Yeah,
Of course.
so I think it's
So,
reasonable to.
I'm just trying to figure out what have we been using on landscapers, trash pickup, any of that? Do we use it 7 a.m.?
We have used 7 in the past. I think there have been some cases where we thought 8 was more appropriate.
That's a busy road area. I wouldn't be against going 7.
I think that would work. I don't think they would start before 7.
I mean, they can do whatever they want inside the building.
Of course, of course.
It's just
say
making
outside.
noise outside.
I think that seems fair.
And no noise outside of the building after 6 p.m., 7 p.m.
7 to 7.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that? All right, so any noise generating activity needs to happen within the building or between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Trust me, when they get busy, they're gonna be shutting their doors and going home at 5, so nobody's beating on the windows trying to get in there. I've seen the boating action, trust me.
Especially in June.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns from the board? Are we ready with a motion?
Make a
Would you like
motion,
to? Please do.
make a motion for approval of application number 25-14, Market Street Industrial LLC, owner and applicant. Located at 317 Market Street, plat map 21 lot 3. Request a special use permit. Special use permit to allow boat repair and service in the rural business zoning district. The special use will be compatible with the neighboring land uses as there are other boat repair facilities in the area. As one of the restrictions, we request that no noise at this location be, no work be performed outside the building before 7, and no noise after 7 p.m. The special use will not create a hazard in the neighborhood. As we indicated here, all the hazardous material will be contained inside the garage area as to not to create a environmental hazard. The special use permit will be compatible with the community comprehensive plan with the town. And lastly, the public convenience and welfare will be served as there will be another repair facility for boaters in the town.
We're going to restrict the seasonal and long-term boat storage to the eastern side of the property.
That is correct.
What we're referring to is behind the building, so furthest away from Market Street.
No, you said not to, right?
No, you know,
You
Well,
said not
it'll
to
just
delay.
be, it'll be as approved
Yeah,
by
okay.
the town official.
So lighting will be approved through the town official. And all long storage boats will be stored at the rear of the building on the northeast corner of the lot.
south.
Oh, I'm sorry, southeast corner.
I misspoke.
I
I
was
said
trying to-
north.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
Thinking about
south-
southeast
I
corner,
misspoke as
south of the
well.
building. You did say northeast. right?
I did say
Yeah, he
north.
did, but it's south.
Yeah, are
Long
there
day.
any other conditions or amendments? Mhm. Yes, we'll put that in, that any local, state, federal regulations governing this type of business will need to be complied with, and all permits necessary will be obtained. Anything else? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the application is approved.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, have a
Thank you.
good evening. Finally, we have application 2515, Spencer W.R. Morris and Allison L. Newsom, owner and applicant, 100 Child Street, plat map 9, lot 36, request for special use permit to allow mixed use in the business zoning district. The applicant or representatives thereof would like to come forward, please.
Good evening, Chairman Ellis, members of the zoning board. Thank you for hearing our petition tonight. I'm accompanied by Greg Spees, architect, and Tony Guida from Constructive Line Work to help answer any of your questions.
Just give us the brief overview of what you'd like to do with the site, your cider business.
Yeah, so this is actually the third time I've been before the zoning board over the years of my occupancy of this building. And currently, we operate the cider, Soham Cider Works on the storefront facing the street. And in the back is a light manufacturing business called Nitro Tap. We make beverage dispensing systems for the wine and spirits industry. And that's, that was the latter is the reason that I moved into the building in around 2000, year 2000. And we got a special use permit at that time for light manufacturing. Subsequently got the use permit for the cidery operation. And today we're here to present a reconfiguration of the building, largely incorporating 3 residential units where we currently have the light manufacturing. So, and I want to also expand the cidery to include both parts of the storefront. I'm looking to retire the manufacturing business, and I don't think there's not a lot of demand. It's a very bizarre building. I think, Chuck, you can testify to this, having worked in there years ago. Okay. It was built in 1968. It's built out completely to the lot lines. It's multiple half split levels on the interior. It's really not well suited to any kind of manufacturing, even for light studio type work. I've considered alternative uses. And it seems like, given the demand for residential use in the town today, this would be and is an appropriate, too close.
It was a furniture store, so it's got these
Yeah.
funky levels in it for
Yeah.
different.
And it's been workable for me because I'm willing to put up with it, and kind of figured out ways to make it useful for the manufacturing project. But there's really, I don't think there's any opportunity for an alternative occupant other than this plan that we propose, which is to create 3 residential units in the back of the building and maintain the cidery business in the front, expanding its retail presence across the full front of the building. We also propose that part of the improvements to the building would be a green roof, essentially a garden roof that would support the residential uses and also provide separated, but also provide for the same type of seating, for outdoor seating for the cidery. So that's kind of the broad stroke. Any questions?
So there's going to be, the back portion is going to have substantial construction to essentially reconfigure, add on, rebuild.
Yeah, it's actually, it's not a very unreasonable proposal. The back space can support, we have engineering and also survey work being done right now. But yeah, it'd be 3-level apartments, 1 bedroom, 1.5 bath, with roof decks on the roof.
I took a ride by the site. The only concern that I have is it looks like it's very tight in that back part with the property line that kind of angles in.
It is.
It doesn't look like you have the proper, I mean, did you look at that? I mean, is there enough space to get the proper span of a staircase along that fence? Because the fence looks like it comes on the angle in towards the building.
So I've had many conversations with the architect, and I think he will, if he presents, he'll present how they'll have the means of egress out of the building. He's worked on this for a lengthy period of time to be able to get the egress, and he believes he can get that.
Yeah, it's 8 foot after. Yeah.
Identify yourself, please.
I'm Greg Spees, 24 Linden Street, Warren. And yeah, the property is angled, and at the northeast corner, which is on Adams Street, it's about 8 feet away, and then it tapers down to about 2. So
Right.
we're getting the survey. It wasn't quite done. Should have it. But been meeting with Mr. Cabral about it. And in terms of the egress windows, at the very narrowest areas, we're not going to have egress windows, but those fortunately can go to the west side of the property, which is, and then there's 3 feet along there. So, but basically that exit stair will ground out at the 8 foot area. So there'd be space for the stair and space around it.
And you're gonna have the stairs going up. You're not gonna be encroaching air-wise on the other property?
No, the stairs go up and they'll be still within the property line.
And they'll still be at 8 feet at the top?
well, 8 feet at the very narrowest, and then it's tapering, so it'll be about 6 feet at the top.
Okay, that's okay with building codes and all that, 6 feet?
Yeah, they're 3-foot stairs.
And 3 feet are wide enough for, in case a firefighter has to get down and all that, 3 feet is wide enough for.
36 inches is the code,
is the
so it's
code?
3 feet.
Okay, all right.
Code.
Yeah, and we've added a second, there's 2 stairs from the roof, so there's that stair, and then there's a stair, internal stair on the other.
On the front left, I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay.
With regard to those issues, we've also opened a conversation with Chief Souza about egress and fire safety. And,
Okay,
those are all in developing conversations.
all right. And that's it.
Yeah, because it looks like one of the interior ways you could get in is actually a side door, which is going to be part of the cidery extension, correct? They'll take you up.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And that takes you up to what looks like it's going to be kind of a common landing area where you can enter the bedrooms. I'm just trying to make sense. I'm having a hard time.
It
reading these.
required quite a bit of study. It's one of the most interesting sectional projects I've seen in.
I feel like I'm
quite
watching the
some
movie
time.
Inception. There's a lot of things moving around and I'm like, I don't know where I am.
Believe me, it took me time to figure it out. But yes, if you just maybe explain a little bit about the levels of the apartments and the shared landings and.
Yeah, there's
whatnot.
sort of a common corridor, can't really call it an atrium, but it's a sort of a foyer that runs the length of the building. It's got skylights
East-west.
and east-west, and between the cider operation, and there's a 2-hour firewall at that
Mhm.
point. And then, so there's really no penetrations to that wall. And then that wall or that area is split by a kind of a raised stair, a walkway. So that there is daylight and open space to the basement. So it's sort of an open basement, almost like a daylit basement, because you're really about only 4 feet down, 4.5 feet down. But that level we're not using for residents. It's compromised for egress. And so it's just recreation, like a storage or rec room, keep your bikes and that sort of thing. So the main entrance is off that, is about 4 feet up off the grade. And then you go to the units at that level and go upstairs, or you can stay at that unit. That would be where the bedroom is.
Units are somewhat inverted. The bedroom is on the lower level, so to speak,
Yeah.
and the living space is
It's
on the upper.
Yeah, the living space was really taking advantage of the garden, the green.
And so I think there's really no mixing between the cidery portion and the residential portion in the internal of the building. They both have access to the roof garden area, but
Right, and we are,
the interior is very much separated, the residential zone and the cidery.
right.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like 3 little townhomes
Yes.
crammed within
Yeah.
an existing building.
Yeah.
And then we've added a new lift
Mhm.
to the site.
And everything was like it's within the height limitations of the zone, and we don't have any issues with building height.
No, really about 2.5 stories.
I mean, I'm assuming the
I think it was
existing,
28, 27 feet.
I mean, the existing building, I'm assuming already covers, for most of the piece of property. Also, Matt, are you gonna need like him to provide updated lot coverage calculations once they add the stair? And I mean, obviously the thing is way over what the coverage should be to start with, but just to update that.
I was wondering about, is that something we need to be, just to address, it seems the only additions, if you will, is going to be there's like a proposed awning and some of the stairs. Otherwise, the building exterior is staying the same, right?
Except the top, right?
You're gonna be adding that back portion, right?
The front,
The front stays the same.
No, it's the
those
rear.
windows up there, oh, that's already existing.
Right.
You just put in window. Okay.
Yeah, that's just the storefront, just being converted to, extending the bar.
My mistake.
Like, if he's within the building's within the setbacks as it is, and he's extending vertically like that previous applicant, do we also need a special, as part of the special use, not just have the mixed use, but to allow the vertical extension of the nonconformity?
This is a unique case because the new formula does come into play on this
Oh, the new formula comes into play on this
because it's a non-conforming lot.
because of non-conforming lot. It's zoned as a what, business?
Yes.
So then what he's proposing, using the new formula, is everything within requirements?
We haven't got to that far, that point.
Yeah, I mean, the setbacks are definitely not gonna be within the requirements,
Mhm.
right? So,
So are we kind of just setting
I
the
think
stage then for?
Tonight, you're there before you to see if they can actually get this done.
That's what I was gonna
to
get.
have the
So,
mixed use.
yeah, tonight, yeah, is this project feasible? And then if it is, they will come back to discuss the variances.
And work with
got it.
them on what exactly.
Yeah, so
Because
all right.
you
we
could have told
need
them.
to, yeah, we need to be very clear in the motion that we are approving the special use for the mixed use. We're not necessarily approving this construction of the building.
Gotcha.
How about parking?
What parking?
What?
What parking?
It doesn't exist.
Do we have to have that with an apartment? Or do the new rules affect this from the state?
Well, yeah, you would go to this one car per unit. That's my understanding, which is quite favorable.
But I mean, you don't have even one car per unit.
Right, there are 7 cars on the west side. Previous, covenant agreement.
Oh, so there's an agreement in
Yes,
place.
With the, to the west, the next parcel is also owned by.
Because that's where
How many
they're,
apartments in that one? So they need 2, you need 3, so if there's 7 parking spaces and that's
They
shared.
have two, there's actually on the east, west side of the cottage lot, there's parking separate from what's used for the side of it.
Right,
100 Charles Street.
right.
Yeah.
But you use that for the cider, don't you? Or you're using that for the cider?
No, well,
Or you're saying the house? on
on
the
Parker
west-
Street,
Yeah,
there's,
okay.
there's sufficient parking, more than sufficient to support the 2 apartments.
Okay, so yeah, you have enough, between the 2 properties, you have enough to support that.
But not the cider. I mean, you've already got a special use for the
Right,
cider.
that's separate.
It's-
Yeah.
I mean, it's a problem. I
So
mean,
you're
well,
talking about-
it's not a problem, but maybe in terms of code compliance, it could be. I don't know.
So you're talking about 94, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
About this?
94.
Yeah, so that kind of shelled area, that's what you're talking about for parking?
On the Parker Street.
I believe he owns both parcels.
yeah, because I think, I mean,
Yeah,
speaking
it's
from
on that.
experience, I've parked in it's
You're
the,
talking about right here?
there's like a
I
gravel
put
or
him in
a
right
crushed
there.
stone area
That's-
between
That's the building right here and that's.
36, I mean, rather 100, which is the building we're talking about,
Yes.
and then 94.
94, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That,
So
and-
this, so basically,
And then in addition, on the other side on Parker Street, there's
Yeah.
more parking and that's specifically for the apartments.
okay.
So you can cover your parking for the apartments on that.
So the question is, right, if we're also expanding the cider business to fill the whole front of the building, does that affect whatever agreement, whatever special use was previously granted for the cider business based on a certain size of that, and there was some parking relief granted with that, we're now expanding the cider business, there would need to be a new granting of parking relief based on what the requirements would now be for the cider business. Right, because the bigger cider business is gonna require more parking than it was
There's more
originally.
square footage.
Yeah, more square footage. more
so how many
parking.
parking spaces would you say you have within those 2 lots?
I think about 7. Oh, between everything?
But you have, so You can come up. So you're talking about this lot here.
That's different.
Here's 94, right here, this lot here,
Yeah.
and this one here.
Mm,
This is Parker.
Yeah, so there's parking right between, or,
Oh, between
yeah, right here
here and right
and
there.
right there, yeah.
Okay.
And then there's some on the other side of the, on the other side. Mhm.
Right here.
That's it.
Okay. All right.
All right, so I say, if the idea of this mixed use were to be approved tonight, and then you came back with further details of variances that you might need to demonstrate code compliance, I would think you would need to present a parking plan drawing of what you have available, what's technically required under the ordinance for both the residents and the expanded cider business, and then present to us what your approach is to that.
You tell us what we need to do.
You need to show us what you, I guess, what you can do, and say, okay, the cider business by code requires 20 spaces, or whatever that happens to be.
Okay.
And the apartments require 3 spaces. So in total, by the code, I need 23 spaces, if that's the number. I say, well, I only have 7 because I have an agreement on this other piece of property that's providing that. And 3 of those are going to be dedicated to the residence spaces, and the other 4 will be used for the cider business. And then we have to decide if we feel 4 is appropriate for the expansion of the cider business, or it's going to create a nuisance or a hazard because you're going to have traffic congestion. And we probably should also look at whatever the language is of the original approval for the cider business about how the parking was handled in that initial approval. If it said, you know, yes, for the size of this cider business back in 2000 or 2001 or whatever it was, the board was approving 7 spaces, and they felt that was adequate for the business. So we'll need to revisit whatever the original approval was.
So, I mean, it's problematic because it is what it is.
That
I
is,
can't create more parking.
that is correct. You
that
can't,
is there, so it's just a matter of you deciding whether or not,
yes, because the other cases were,
what's the
you know,
impact on the neighborhood, this kind of thing.
yeah, we'll have to,
Which I can tell you is
Yeah.
not that significant. I mean, there's plenty of parking on the street.
well, you know, at that time when the variants are posed, I mean, we'll have to see if there's any residents that come forward to raise issues or bring things to our attention.
Okay.
There have been other businesses in town where they wanted to expand, but they didn't have the parking, so they presented to us a legal agreement with like another property 2 blocks away or something that, you know, they're getting deeded rights or some kind of a parking easement to satisfy their parking on another piece of property. So basically, you just need to come back at that time, tell us what you're proposing and what you think is reasonable based on the land that you have and what arrangements you can make.
Mhm.
And then we'll have to judge if that's reasonable to allow, you know, if that's a reasonable parking plan to allow this.
Okay, so
But-
we can't really move on this at all.
No, but say, I think,
In theory,
What can we do
I
tonight?
think the first
Yes.
thing was.
Mixed
is the
use.
Mixed use allowed?
yes,
And now we get that, and then we can,
because we're not necessarily even approving this particular mix of 3 apartments and so many square feet for the cider. It's just in theory, can we have a mixed use on this property? Yes. So that could turn into 4 apartments in a smaller cider area, or 1 apartment in a bigger cider area, or something else. We're just granting you permission to allow both residential and commercial
that was the
activity
big
on,
thing.
yes.
Residential was not.
Yes,
permitted by
yes.
Current zone.
Yes. So again, we're just approving that in theory. The exact mix and how you're going to satisfy the setbacks and the parking and all these myriad other things, that is a second hearing.
Yeah, I understand.
And my understanding though, is in commercial, there really isn't a setback. Like a residential setback,
Yes, we have setbacks
Yeah.
in that zone.
but I mean, okay. so
All
we are
zones.
then out, so we're non-conforming.
Correct, you're an existing
We're not
non,
changing-
existing
We're
non-conforming.
not really changing the footprint, with the
Yeah.
exception of that stairway.
but you're also going up vertically, as you heard from the earlier one.
Right.
You're extending the
Oh, you're
non,
extending the non-conforming.
vertically, you're
Right.
still in the non-conforming area, but now it's going higher. So you'd
Right.
have to have a special use to extend a non-conforming thing vertically, and then if this new stair is further encumbering the setbacks, you need a dimensional variance, that now you're building a stair in the area of the setback where nothing's supposed to be built in the first place. So there's going to be a number of potential variances to address that, and an additional special use for the vertical nonconformity. And we're not saying this isn't possible. There's just going to be, there's going to be another piece to this.
Yeah, we figured. Just knowing if we got the space.
Yes. Yeah. I don't get the sense that anyone's objecting to having a mix of commercial and residential on the property. It seems like there'll be details to be worked out.
Yeah,
I think that'll probably be, might be the trickier part,
Yeah.
yeah.
but again, you know, until you, whether or not you can do it or not, you know, do you want to dig into those details? So I get it. So, yeah.
Yeah, so do we have any specific questions about just the concept of having a mixed use on this particular parcel of land? Okay. So anyone in the audience who'd like to speak regarding this application? Okay, yes, sir, if you'd like to come up and identify yourself, please, for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Board. My name is Matthew King. I'm a resident at 75 Child Street.
Okay,
So I'm a butter,
Yeah.
and I'm also a neighbor of Mr. Morris and Ms. Newsom's property on Cole Street. My property is a mixed-use facility. I have 2 residential and 1.5 businesses, I guess you could say. And I'm here to speak in favor of the applicant. I think that continuing the mixed use and appropriate use of something like this down Child Street, extending the downtown area, would be a boon, without the obvious, the fact that you're adding 3 residential units to the neighborhood, which I think would be good. So, thank you.
very good. Anyone else who'd like to speak about the application? Not seeing anyone else, so come back to the podium. So I just want to be clear on the reason for the special use for the mixed use. Is it because residential is not allowed on the first floor? Because residential over commercial, like residential stacked on top of commercial, that's fine. It's because the residential is going down to the first floor. Is that the trigger for this?
No, it's residential in the business zoning district.
Well, you
So-
can't have it at all
Yeah, you can have it with a special.
with a special use.
Yeah, whereas now it is strictly commercial.
It's only a commercial
Yeah.
property. Oh, because right, this isn't the village business. This is just
Right.
this is just the straight up
Commercial
business.
We have about 14 business zones.
I know. Little Warren.
Okay, so the concept is we're sort of taking the character of the village business district and we're trying to extend it out to make it more of a mixed use type of neighborhood.
Get a new overlay and buckle on that.
Okay. Now, is there anything else you want to explain just strictly about the idea of the mixed use and why you think it's a benefit?
Yeah, well, it was similar to the Thirster argument where you really don't have the demand for commercial and especially manufacturing and especially manufacturing without frontage. And so it's sort of hidden in the back. And so in that sense, we got a low demand, whereas on the residential, we have a big demand. So it seems like a win-win. Increase the tax base for both.
I mean, in terms of the parking issue too, we're going from a going towards a less intensive use of parking.
Well, that could certainly, when you come back with the parking, that could be a good use, that if you say it used to be light manufacturing, and that would have required
More, yeah.
30 spaces or whatever that was, and we didn't have it then. Now we're going to a residential use, and even with the expanded cidery, it's still less than, I mean, Greg can do some numbers and calculations of what the manufacturing and the cider as it is requires, and then compare it to what the new mix is going to be and show us that you're not making the situation any worse than it is today. I mean, that would go, I think, a long way to convincing us that we know there's no land. The land is what it is. We can't make more land. So, you know, show us how this new development is improving the situation.
So would surveys of the neighborhood, street parking make any kind of sense here?
I mean, if you want to say like, there's X number of
I
spaces.
mean, I live in the
here.
neighborhood, so I'm well aware of what the impact is when, you know, when there are special events. and
Yeah,
things like that.
whatever evidence you want to bring to present to show that this new arrangement, that in your opinion is going to be compatible and.
Most
not
cider
increase-
drinkers arrive on bicycle.
Oh, is that, most cider
That seems
drinkers
to
are
be,
bike?
that seems to be the case.
That's why we put those lights up.
Yeah, so
So-
anything you want to share when that time comes, do some numbers, have some charts, whatever is necessary to demonstrate.
Are there, that's, I understand the particulars of that. What about other issues?
There's gonna be the variance,
Setback.
there's gonna be variances for the setbacks, but I mean, the building footprint is what it is. You're adding an egress stair, so, you know, it's not reasonable that we could deny, you need code required egress. So, right, if we were to deny that stair, then make the I mean, we could do it, but it would not allow the project to go forward. So we have to weigh, like, in the interests of the town and the comprehensive plan, is it worth having that stair in the setback area? And we can look at other properties in that neighborhood that certainly are closer to the setbacks than what is allowed by code, and make a case for that. So we present the argument that, you know, we feel doing this project is a benefit to the town and meets the comprehensive goals, and that outweighs the minimal impairment of the setback, because of, you know, what are you really impairing with that stair? You know,
Yeah.
it's not like someone's daycare is right there and it's gonna harm some, you know, come up with some reasoning of why it's a minimal encumbrance. But you know, you have to present it, and we have to weigh the evidence and say, yes, that in the interest of the town, it makes more sense to do this development, and we can allow that stair. And certainly the vertical thing, if you heard the application earlier, right? There's not much argument against the vertical thing. It's mainly technicality that because you're extending vertically in the non-conformance, it'd be unlikely to have any opposition to that, I would think.
Yeah, well, nobody came here tonight, so. So those are the, really the
Yeah,
three
it's gonna-
issues.
yeah, it's gonna be your, oh, well, I mean, I'm sure your lot coverage is over what your lot coverage is allowed for this zone. We can just present what you have. I mean, you're only increasing the lot coverage by a few square feet.
Landing, yeah.
The landing of the stair, whatever, so you can present that, and, you know, we'll weigh that evidence and say, yeah, I mean, we understand the building's occupying 90% of the property as it is, you know, if it's now gonna occupy 1 more percent. You know, you just have to present the case.
Okay.
Here, and, you know, before you obviously have meetings with the zoning official and identify what variances will be needed, what special use is needed for the vertical piece, and go through that, and then you can compile your evidence, why you think it's more compelling that you do this versus any potential detriment that it might cause. And basically, because the book says that these are the setbacks and this is the lot coverage, we have to make you come and demonstrate why you need to deviate from that.
Gotcha.
Because you've got to present evidence, and we have to have findings of fact to say, yes, this is why it's fact-based, that we feel it's in the best interest of the town.
So our next application for the zoning board needs to be specific on these particular variances.
Yes.
So this is the,
This is just the,
basically the next use of.
yes,
The next one will be dimensional.
yes, and the special use for the vertical.
No, in some ways,
And
this
the
is,
so it's really the dimensional side yard and lot coverage.
Yeah,
And the
the
vertical
vertical.
extension of the
Yeah.
massive one.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I've already worked with the applicant and the architect on this project, so I would advise them to just come back to me.
Yeah.
We can look at the variances that are needed, and there may also be a parking variance. So
Yeah, yes,
we need to look at
yes.
that too. So
Right.
once you have your plan that you want to submit, we can meet and go over what you need for variance.
If you've got new signage you want to add that's going to need a variance, I mean, throw in whatever you want, as much as you want. You know, you've heard our comments on lighting. If you're going to have exterior lighting up on this deck, that we don't want it shining in the windows of someone
Oh,
else's
yeah.
house and all this business.
Now, we would be well aware of
You know, and there's probably gonna be discussion about, are you gonna have like live music up on this deck and what kind of impact is that gonna have on the neighbors and hours of operation? Where is the trash going? Like now you're expanding the business, where the residents put their trash. It's gonna be all these kind of questions.
That's easy. I mean, that's.
Oh, sorry, yes, you'd like to identify yourself and say something? Oh, you want to counsel?
Yeah,
I could do it.
we're just talking about.
Yeah.
Inclusionary housing.
Yeah,
It's three, I mean, three.
3 residents.
Market. One bedrooms.
All right. So any other questions on the allowance of the mixed use in this property?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, then, unless you have anything else to add on the mixed use.
I think we've gone over that. I think so. We now we know what we have to do.
Yes, you got to do the technical
But
part.
I know
Yeah.
that we couldn't go zoning further without this.
And I don't think anyone here wants to give the impression that we're opposed to this project of redevelopment. We just have to take you through these steps. So, right, if this was approved and we didn't go through these steps and then someone brings legal action against you later on, you don't have a leg to stand on. But if you go through the right steps and get these little details approved and you say, yes, the board approved this, I'm legal and conforming now, whatever.
All right,
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead with
move
your motion,
approval.
please.
Give this a shot. Application number 25-15, Spencer W.R. Morris and Allison L. Newsom, owner and applicant, 100 Child Street, plat map 9, lot 36, for a special use permit to allow mixed use in the business zoning district. In granting approval of this application, we do find that mixed use commercial residential is permitted on a special use. We do find that this proposed special use will be compatible with the neighboring land uses. There is testimony given by an abutter, Matthew King, who operates a similar type operation with mixed commercial residential directly adjacent to this property, and with some familiarity with the Child Street neighborhood street. This seems to be a developing trend of similar type land uses. We find that the proposed special use will not create a hazard in the neighborhood. The current commercial use is being underutilized. Part of the structure is being used for light manufacturing, as well as a cider works. And the proposed special use is going to increase the housing stock while reducing the manufacturing in this mixed area. We find that the proposed special use permit will be compatible with the community comprehensive plan, and that there is, this proposal proposes to redevelop this property and to make it into much more economically viable model by increasing the potential increase of an existing thriving business with the addition of some residential units of which this town desperately needs. And we find that the public convenience and welfare will be served for the above purposes. Of special note, we want to make it very clear that this approval is only to allow a mixed commercial residential use. If there are any requests for variances, will need to be brought to us via a separate petition or application.
Does anyone else have any amendments or other conditions? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is approved, so you can have a mixed use on this property. So now you can go to your next step.
Thanks for your consideration tonight, gentlemen.
This is one of the most innovative proposals we've seen in quite some time.
I was looking at this, they need to tell me what's going on. I can't make sense of it.
It took me a while to get my.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
But it should be pleasant. I think.
Very good. All right, so we'll see you at some point in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll work on that. So
Yeah.
we are gonna-
Yes. Very good. Does anyone have any administrative notes, upcoming absences? et cetera?
Just a reminder, next
Yeah.
month we have the site visit before the meeting,
Oh,
right?
that's right. I'll come to moderate, but I won't actually participate in the site.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I've got the address right.
Yeah, where is it?
Was that emailed to us?
We talked
We're gonna get
about,
a notice on it anyway.
All right.
yeah, so it's a 42 Sachem Street. It'll be published, yeah.
He wanted the address.
And that's at what time?
6:30.
So it's not gonna be a very long site, is it?
Are you gonna, Mia, you're gonna,
All right,
Are you
is there a
gonna email
motion to
us?
adjourn?
Are you gonna email us?
Seconded.
Seconded.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the meeting is now.
I said, let's do when someone was stopping. To go down there, my cousin, to get the water.